test Billy with a trip to the sauna.
Hey, shut the door! Come on, kid!
I love the look of the guy on the right. He's just begging to be rescued. Save me! In the Scoops Troop Russian mall rats plotline.
Hey guys, my name's Dan, and today's reaction comes from Dead Meat. This is Stranger Things 3 2019 kill count, and I'm so excited for this because we have James finally back on the kill count. Plus, this is one of my favorite shows, but considering how long this video is, I'm gonna try to speed run through this intro here. So if you enjoy other Dead Meat videos, I reacted to many of them for you to enjoy. And if you want to see future reactions that I do, you can go right below this video, click that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell, because not only does it give you access to future reactions that I do, but also helps my channel out a ton. They can go on over and support Dead Meat if you haven't already. I'll leave a link to the channel down in the description. And without any further ado, let's go.
Ahoy, meaties, and welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies.
Oh, I love it.
I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Season 3 of Stranger Things, released on Netflix in 2019. I covered the first two Stranger Things seasons with two-part videos back in 2020. Well, no more of that half and half shit. I'm doing the whole season in one go this time. And for any future viewers, this video came out before the end of Season 4 dropped, so if anything in those two episodes makes me sound like a dummy, well, you know, that's why. Stranger Things Season 3 takes place in 1985, more than half a year after Season 2 left off. The main kids are on the cusp of high school, and their interests have shifted to girls. Well, most of them. As opposed to Seasons 1 and 2, which took place in the fall, Season 3 is Somerset, all high temperatures and free time, and the episodes appropriately feel more colorful and lively. Twin brothers Matt and Russ Duffer, the creators and showrunners, wanted Season 3 to feel more like a summer blockbuster in tone. I think it absolutely does, and for the most part, it's a pretty fun time. The one way it's a disappointment is with all the Russian stuff. While the first two seasons used the Cold War as a backdrop, it was mostly to set a paranoid tone and explore the theme of scary government overreach.
We have to trust them, okay? This is our government. They're on our side.
Season 3 says, actually, there are Russians, and they're the bad guys, which turns part of its plot into a madcap spy movie with a boring Terminator wannabe. I appreciate that the show is trying to expand out from Hawkins, but the Hawkins setting and characters are what make it so enjoyable. Thankfully, those characters are able to salvage most of the silly plot stuff. Speaking of characters, we have a few new additions to the cast. Many of them are good, with Maya Hawke's Robin a standout. Plus, the new ever-evolving upside-down monster is pretty sweet. Remember the Mind Flayer? He's back in gloop form. I think it's way cooler than a pack of demodogs. Overall, though it has its flaws, I found Season 3 much more watchable and memorable than Season 2. If you're photosensitive though, I gotta be real with you. I don't think Stranger Things wants you watching it. There's a general warning when you go to play the show, and I'm gonna have to do the same for this episode. You've been general warned. General warned. Now, as I'm sure you've already noticed, this kill count is a behemoth.
I just got what he did there.
It took a ton of work to do. Like New Coke, Season 3 is sweeter and bolder. Does that mean more bodies? Only one way to find out. I've been waiting 6 months to say this. Let's get to the kills.
Hell yeah, man.
The season begins in June 1984, placing this opening scene between seasons 1 and 2. Like I said, those seasons had the US government as a shadowy menace. But forget that ish, we've got real live Russians here. A regular red horde, a commie carnival. They boot up the freedom-hating Laser 9000 and blow a molten vag into the wall. Oh, and it's leaking lava slugs? Good job, I guess? The experiment super fucks up, which is bad news for these guys, who look like Garandan took over Moltar's job. The laser blows up and obliterates 8 of them. Their bodies burn up like leaves tossed into a bonfire. Spin VFX did the effects for this Cold War open, creating an entirely CG environment with CG characters and a CG laser. So many layers went into these effects, making it impressive how seamless the end product feels. Everyone knows I love practical effects, and sometimes people wrongly accuse me of hating all CG. This CG right here, fucking awesome, and just as impressive as practical effects in its own way. The explosion upsets Ronald Ruski, who wants the Iron Curtain to extend to the Upside Down. Under his orders, the head scientist gets Admiral Ozold by a boring henchman named Grigori. That scientist was as clumsy as he is Russian. Boss Man approaches another scientist, Alexei, and tells him he has 1 year to fix their boom boom boo boo. You are in command now, Admiral Alexei, and that's the way they do it in the motherland. It's 1 year later, summer 1985, and in this year of new beginnings, the kids have ditched the arcade for the mall. Careful there, scamps. Watch out for security robots. Starcourt Mall may not have guys asking waitresses for more butter, but it does have Steve Harrington as an ice cream slinger at Scoops Ahoy. It's also got a movie theater playing the most underrated of Romero's masterpieces. Before that wall in the calendar room can get all handsy, the power goes out in the theater, the ice cream shop, the whole damn mall. Not even the penny ponies are spared. Steve tries to get the lights going again, but if that's also his bedroom technique, no wonder they're staying turned off. This power outage is town-wide, in fact, spreading at the speed of a camera pan. At an old steel mill, something stirs in its wake. Wind's blowing up a gale today. Debris moves around in solid visual effects until we're whipping up a whole ass smoke monster. Not the kind that possessed Saeed, the kind that possessed Will last season. The power comes back, but so does Will Byers' trauma, because it wouldn't be ST without his PTSD. Poor little bowl cut boy's always having a shit old time. But how are the other characters doing? Well, let's catch up. Lucas and Max are still together, as are Elle and Mike. They've been slobbering all over each other in the 6 months since middle school ended with the snowball dance. Hopper is not a fan. Let's check in with our other faves too, like Jonathan, Winona Ryder, and Bob. Oh wait, no, Bob's dead. Well, hey, Billy's here. Remember him? He's Max's abusive brother who was murderously racist towards Lucas. Yeah, shitty guy, but hey, at least he's hot. All the MILFs think so too. Mrs. Wheeler, I didn't see you swimming. Why's that deck chair dripping wet? As gross as it is for her to be fucking a high schooler, her interest logically follows the season 2 finale. Karen started crushing on this teenage boy when he stopped by her house looking for kids to beat up. Billy takes an interest in Karen too, because Dodoy, and extends her an invitation to have an affair that night. As always, Cara Buono puts in phenomenal acting work, showing how conflicted Karen is and how hard she's trying to play it cool. Heart of the series Joyce Byers still works at Melville's General Store. It's one of the last places still open downtown. The Starcourt Mall has been Walmarting all the other local places out of business. Hopper comes in and complains to her about his adopted daughter's romantic life.
You know, it is that smug son of a bitch, Mike. He's corrupting her, I'm telling you. And I'm just gonna lose it. I mean, I am gonna lose it, Joyce.
She tells him to chill and be more like the enjoyable character he used to be, but season 3 Hopper is a sitcom-y, brutish oaf. The only thing that calms him down is the prospect of a romantic subplot. Hey, if she's good enough for Beetlejuice, she's good enough for Hellboy. It's the summer before senior year for Jonathan Byers and Nancy Wheeler. They're dating and working summer jobs together at the Hawkins Post. Nancy has journalistic ambitions, but fails to garner respect from the old boys who run the place. They think of her as nothing more than a sandwich getter.
You think you can follow the clues and solve the case of the missing condiment, Nancy Drew?
Nancy still works hard and stays late at the office, which is when she gets a call from a Mrs. Driscoll about sick rats. Might have something to do with how every rat in Hawkins has come to the old steel mill. There, they went into the basement and had a splody celebration. Is this how Mrs. Brisby became a widow? As mentioned, the recently graduated Steve Harrington is an adorable little ice cream sailor at the Starcourt Mall.
I'm Steve Harrington.
Oh, God.
Can I get you guys a little taste of the Cherries Jubilee? No?
He's lost all his coolness though, which gets him teased by his co-worker Robin. Robin's played by Maya Hawke, last seen on the Kill Count in Fear Street Part 1. She's the daughter of Uma the Bride Thurman and Bagul victim Ethan Hawke. Dustin Henderson just got back to Hawkins after spending the past month at a science camp. There, he stole invention ideas from Homer Simpson and built a ham radio to talk to his totally real girlfriend.
Girlfriend?
Yeah, y'all, he's the purrin' playa. The radio requires high elevation to work, and during the hike to get there, Mike and Eleven leave to suck face. The others persevere and summit late, but hours after setting up the radio and asking Susie if she copies, Dustin's new boo still hasn't answered. His other friends bail too, meaning Dustin's all alone when he intercepts a secret commie radio message. It's coming from the layer we saw in the cold open, and for Dustin's sake, I hope it doesn't have anything to do with Ovaltine. At home, Hopper tries his best to follow Joyce's advice and speak to Eleven and Mike like adults. He's bad at it though, and they're little shits right back to him.
What I wanted to say to you is that,
Uh-oh. I think we're in trouble.
Oh, come on, Mike. You don't mess around with Jim. Hopper lies to Mike and says his mom wants him home. In the truck, he berates the little bastard, saying he has to quit spending so much time with Al, or else he'll force him to watch the Hellboy reboot. Mrs. Wheeler gets ready for her tryst to I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight, which wouldn't be released by Cutting Crew until an entire year later. Reminds me of the anachronistic needle drop in season 2, where a 1985 Oingo Boingo song scored a montage set in 1984. Karen is ready to get milfy with Milfy until she sees her youngest Holly sleeping on her human log Ted. That'll dampen your lamps, and she decides that the price of infidelity is too damn high. Billy doesn't get that message and is practicing his marriage wrecking in the mirror when his car spins out and he crashes right next to the old steel mill. In no time at all, Billy gets hooked and dragged across the ground by his ankle. He's pulled into the basement and his scream echoes out until the next episode autoplays. Billy jump cuts out of the millie and makes a super leather jacket getaway, but it's too late, judging by these flashes of trauma and electric stuff. Billy's been infected by the Mind Flayer, specifically that dust we saw stirring to life after the Hawkins-wide power outage. His upside-down infection comes with a thrillering welcoming committee, headed by an upside-down version of Billy himself. The doppelganger's got a Field of Dreams message for him.
I want you to build.
But not Billy ain't talking about no baseball diamond. He wants Billy to build an army for him. Hup hup! Hopper meets with Larry Klein, hotshot mayor of Hawkins. He's played by Cary Elwes, who we best know from Saw, where he played what was he, a proctor?
I'm a doctor.
Ah, yeah, that was close. Klein's the reason the Starcourt Mall has moved into town, which not everyone is pleased about, given the condition of Main Street. Klein says fuck him and forces Hopper to clear out the protesters for not having a permit. Intrigued by the rat disease lead, Nancy gets out of work by playing on her boss's discomfort with women.
I've been having some girl problems.
She grabs Jonathan and his camera, hoping to impress their bosses with a good story. And if they get fired for their attempt,
Then we never have to work at the shithole again.
they head to the home of Doris Driscoll. And shout out to 70-something actress Peggy Miley. She's great, like a wholesome little old lady version of Danny DeVito.
Lemonade, it's fresh squeezed.
She really makes Mrs. Driscoll a memorable character.
These bags, you're sure they were full before?
I'm old, honey, not senile.
Driscoll's got rats eating up all her fertilizer, which must be like rat crack for these creepy Reaper cheeps. Oh shit, man. There's never been a better time to quote Smashing Pumpkins. Nancy and Jonathan leave before they see what happens to the captured rat. It explodes as though it were hit by a bullet with butterfly wings. Then the raspberry jam crawls out of the cage and across the floor. And just like that, a baby Mind Flayer was born. Season 3 had a new lead VFX company in Rodeo Effects. It was headed by supervisor Martin Pelletier, who worked under returning VFX supervisor Paul Graff. Rodeo spent 14 months building over 350 VFX shots, including the Gloop monster's whole life cycle.
We had to come up with a way to go from rat to goop and from goop to monster.
Animation supervisor Yvonne Jardel used Houdini to make their CG rat skin bubble. When it came to the explosion, they avoided visible guts, opting instead for a monolithic slime to keep things from getting too gory. That slime, though, is not so simple underneath. There are multiple layers of biomechanics that inform how the creature moves and behaves in space. These fleshy effects are much different than the ash particles that dominated Season 2. The Duffers wanted grosser visuals for Season 3, and for inspiration turned to The Thing and Hellraiser. Wet and fleshy was their mood board. Probably wanted at least a 5 on the Screamin' Mad George scale. Mike, still feeling the sting of Hopper's yelly threats, lies to 11 to avoid hanging out with her. Elle can tell she's getting BS'd, so good job, Hop. You caused emotional duress to a couple of hormonal teens. Adoptive father of the year right there. He celebrates by setting up a non-date dinner with Joyce that night, but she's distracted by some other attraction that isn't working. The magnets in her store have fallen down, just like the ones on her fridge at home did earlier. Fucking magnets. How do they work? Mike's lie sends him and 11 seeking comfort in their friends. Mike with Lucas and Will, and 11 with Max, despite the brief rivalry they had in Season 2. Everyone pretty much agrees that Mike done fucked up, and the boys head to the mall so Mike can get 11 an apology gift. Though it's against Hopper's rules for her, 11 also goes to the mall. Max says she can forget her boy troubles with a material Madonna montage. Why are you dressing like Gallagher, girl? Things get pretty cutesy here. We even get a stacked heads around the corner bully girl soda blow-up prank. It's a real Teehian time. The kids all run into each other outside the mall, and thanks to her newfound confidence, 11 kicks Mike to the curb.
I dump your ass.
A lot of Stranger Things locations are filmed on sets at a soundstage in Atlanta, especially when they're frequently used, like the Byers house and the Wheeler basement. Hopper's cabin is a whole-ass building constructed on a soundstage. But for the Starcourt Mall, around which the entirety of Season 3 revolves, production bought a part of the Gwinnett Place Mall in Duluth, Georgia, which had first opened in 1984. Like many malls, it had fallen on hard times in the 21st century.
The Georgia State student's body was discovered December 21st by a mall security guard. The body was behind this counter area of a former food court restaurant.
Jesus,
oh my
I
God.
didn't expect that though. That wasn't fun to learn. learn. The mall was given a cosmetic makeover by Stranger Things' longtime production designer, Chris Trujillo. His team of more than 50 carpenters and painters worked for 10 weeks rebuilding dozens of stores. Literally everything had to be recreated, all in period-accurate design. JCPenney and a 3,000 square foot Gap joined original businesses like Scoops Ahoy and Star Cinema. The renovations went as far as rewiring the place to give production complete electrical control. And apparently the mall was open and functional during shooting. The public part separated from the set by simple curtains.
Like a bunch of people are shopping as we're filming. In the mall, people are shopping as we're filming. And like I see people just like, huh?
Dustin heads to the mall next to reunite the show's best character pairings.
Yeah.
Dustin forever, motherfuckers! Robin, you can join too. He tells Steve about his possibly fake girlfriend Susie and the secret Russian radio transmission he intercepted. If Steve can help him decipher it, they can be true red, white, and blue heroes. Unfortunately, they kind of suck at it, so Robin butts in, arguing she's got a much better chance at success.
I'm fluent in 4 languages, you know.
Russian?
Uye arye umbade.
Holy shit.
That was pig Latin, dingus.
Ixnay on the upid stay. After some time, Robin cracks the first sentence.
The week is long.
Well, that's thrilling.
The remaining sentences are no less cryptic, but on their way out, Steve recognizes where he heard the transmission's background music.
I don't understand.
It's the exact same song in the recording.
Yeah, it's Hal's favorite song. And the signal isn't coming from Russia, but from right here, inside their town's bustling core of capitalism. When Joyce can't figure out magnets on her own, she heads to an expert, the miniature painting, Weird Al listening to science teacher, Mr. Scott Clark. They spend all day talking nerd shit, and he posits a theory as to why her magnets ain't magneting. Basically, a nearby big-ass machine might be the reason, and Joyce knows a place where they've got all sorts of big-ass machines. She's still in Scott Clark's garage when it's time for her and Hopper's not date dinner. Aw, man, and he went full-on Miami Vice for it. The no-show causes Big Jim to get drunk by himself and belligerent with the staff. Great police chief behavior, dude. Definitely drove himself home drunk, too. At the Hawkins pool, Karen Wheeler tries to explain to Billy why she didn't meet him for meat mashing. The sweaty boy hallucinates knocking the MILF out, but thankfully, that wasn't real.
Stay away from me, Karen.
Just like with Will last season, there's still part of Billy inside his body, even though it's mostly mind flayer at this point. Unlike Will, though, Billy is a violent douche nozzle, so it's hard for me to tell when he's supposed to be possessed and when he's not.
Agreed.
Just as Will did before him, Billy tries to keep his body cool. He's taking a cold shower when fellow lifeguard Heather Holloway finds him. She peers with a 1,000-yard stare before Billy can't take it anymore and attacks her. Later, he ties her up and takes her to the old steel mill. He tells her not to be afraid because he's just here to show her his friend, his giant, goopy, terrifying friend.
No.
Max and Elle keep listening to Madonna and pining over future fellow Netflix stars.
Bet he's an amazing kisser, too.
Well, he sells a mean car, I tell you
Sure
what.
does.
The teen mags aren't all they're looking at. Eleven taps into her powers to spy on her ex-boyfriend and his boys. Huh, what are they up to?
Kids.
Some things never change.
Yep.
Okay, very well.
They take Elle's privacy-violating powers and put another slumber party spin on them. Eleven tunes into the void at frequency 102. Billy, where things are pretty weird, seeing as how Billy's sacrificing a girl to a gloop monster. Void Billy seems to sense 11, so he blips away like Barney the dinosaur just snapped his fingers. It's a good scary moment for the show. I mean, look at how scared 11 is. The girls go to Max's house to see if anything seems out of place for Billy. Nothing seems weird so far, and Billy always soaks his ice bags in the bathtub. The girls get concerned when they find some lifeguard gear covered in blood. That sends them to the public pool where a picture of Heather helps 11 tune her void brain to the proper residence. Looks like Heather's 5 doors down from the Elm Street house and behind a similarly painted red door. What you doing in a tub full of ice there, Heather? Well, I would if you quit sinking through the floor. Man, Elm Street tubs go deep. Jonathan and Nancy print Templeton's headshots, and Nancy reveals that many hardware stores have been getting their fertilizers and pesticides stolen. It's a good story, but coming from her, it's not taken seriously.
Hawkins rodents prefer poison. Nut job tells all.
That asshole Bruce is played by Jake Busey, last seen on the kill count playing his dad's character's son in The Predator. The boss man here is Tom Holloway, who is the father of Heather the lifeguard. Tom tells Nancy to drop the Driscoll story, and if she doesn't, she'll be fired. Determined to prove herself, Nancy tells Jonathan that they should go get the Driscoll rat as hard evidence. They get to the old lady's home and let themselves in. Downstairs, they find Mrs. Mrs. Driscoll acting just like them rats. He's nomming away on fertilizer. Talk about a shit-eating grin. Joyce goes to Hopper's and says that she thinks Hawkins' lab is behind whatever's causing her magnets not to work. Though he's pissed at her for standing him up, Joyce forces him to come along as she heads to the lab with determination and B&E tools. They break into Hawkins' lab, which has been abandoned since season 2 ended 6 months ago. Oh hey, this is where Bob died, and Joyce is just so happy to be back here. Really, it's great.
Yeah, me too.
The upside down gateway is
great.
still sealed up tight, but they do
Bob.
hear a noise nearby. When Hopper goes to investigate, he's attacked by Grigori, the Russian bruiser from the season's opening scene. Grigori the Boring knocks Hopper out before riding away on his bike, like cool guy American Steve McQueen's in Greatest of Escapings. Robin's been trying to decipher the Russian code, but it's not until she sees a cat symbol that she gets an idea. You know, maybe check for skull masks before running into the middle of the mall like that, Maya. She whirls around and cracks all the code's clues, confirming that the transmission has to do with the mall itself. She and Stustin have a rainy rooftop spy sesh where they see more evidence that something shady's going on.
Well, I think we found your Russians.
And I think you found your subplot. Will is trying real hard to remind his friends of their season 1 roots.
I have seen into the future, and I've seen that today is a new day. A day free of girls.
Will's much more in the background this season, but I like his story of not maturing the same as his friends. It makes for some heartbreaking scenes, especially for anyone whose friends ever outgrew them in coolness.
7 points of damage. Oh no, my arm. Lucas, look, my arm.
Oh man, fucking devastating. Also, this is when they start to hint that Will might be gay.
It's not my fault you don't like girls.
I expect that to come out, no pun intended, by time season 4 wraps up. Abandoned by his friends, with whom he used to bust many a ghost, Will the Wet has a hissy fit and breaks down Castle Byers with a bat. Damn, he took that thing down like he was playing Rampage. Hardy little feller, if, you know, a bit soggy. Also drenched by this downpour are Elle and Max as they arrive at the Holloway home. There they find Heather, right as rain, having dinner with her parents and Billy. If you thought Billy was unnerving when he was all screamy shouty, get a load of when the Mind Flayer puppeteers him like he's a nice guy.
And I'm sorry, I did not quite catch your name.
Elle.
Props to Dacre Montgomery, giving another standout performance this season. They assure the girls everything is a-okay and send them off to race paper boats in the gutter. When they're gone, Billy and Heather knock her mother out with drugs and her father out with a wine bottle to the head. This is another good horror scene, creepily scored to Don McLean's American Pie. It's like a PG-13 version of Clockwork Orange or some shit. Doris Driscoll and her mud mouth are taken by an ambulance, but she doesn't want to go to the hospital. She reaches out towards the old steel mill, where Tom and Mrs. Holloway are tied up, thanks to their daughter Dearest. Heather and Billy Crudlip are leaving them as food for the Gloop monster. Here it comes, glooping all over the place.
Jesus Christ.
No, dude, it's the Gloop monster. Could Jesus Christ do this? Cause you know
Nope.
that don't taste like wine. Joyce brings Hopper back to consciousness and tries to get him to stop flashing as Lil Jim Cocker.
Where are my clothes?
They were soaked.
Yeah, next time you get jumped, try not to piss yourself, brah. Joyce mentions that the assailant rode a motorcycle, which sends Hopper back to Mayor Klein's office. Last time Hop was there, Grigori was too, and Hopper noticed the Russian's cool guy motorcycle gear. When Hopper makes an accusation, Klein bites back like an asshole with teeth.
Don't give me that dead daughter sob story, because I just don't care.
And that's how Mayor Klein learned how hard his wooden door is. Hopper threatens to take away Klein's ability to do the claw, so the mayor laments and admits that Grigori works for the Russians who own Starcourt Mall. They've been paying Mayor Klein to expand their land deals into East Hawkins, and if it's one thing you don't want the Russians in charge of, it's the eastern half of a city. Hopper and Joyce take Larry Klein back to his home so they can look at the land deeds the Starcourt Russians have been purchasing. They look them up on a map, and that night, the Hawkins house hunters check out the various properties. As for Mayor Klein, they leave him handcuffed in his room. With no rusty saw around, his wife has to let him out later. At the Hawkins Post, Nancy and Jonathan are in trouble for the Doris Driscoll thing. Possessed Papa Holloway's so pissed, he'll GD kick this camera sideways. This Tuck's everlasting patience has run out, so he fires them both on the spot. Nancy's more upset about not being taken seriously, but Jonathan is mad at her for getting them fired.
It's a summer job. Your life is hardly over.
I don't live in a 2-story house on Maple Street. My dad doesn't earn 6 figures.
I love this conflict because they both have valid points. Nancy comes from the financially comfortable Wheeler household, while the Byerses have always struggled and are from a different part of town. Jonathan definitely needs this job way more than her. At the same time, his frustrations lead him to dismissing her treatment at the Post.
You don't know what it's like.
Neither do you.
That's how you write conflict, kids. Once again, Karen Wheeler proves herself to be Mom of the Year, listening to Nancy and telling her to stay strong in this messed up world. Nancy, your mom is so awesome and hot. With maternal encouragement, Nancy goes to the hospital and checks on Mrs. Driscoll. Doris, you've lowered your cholesterol. Great work. Max and Elle are still mad at the boys, but they get them on the yelly telly and say they're having a code red. Everyone assemble, except Dustin, who's still spying on the Russians and their gun-guarded secret storage room. In Mike's basement, Will says that his upside-down senses are tingling, and his little boy Goosebumps can only mean one thing.
The Mind Flayer.
The Mind Flayer spent season 2 with a psychic link to Willie Bye-Bye's body. When 11 closed the upside-down gate, it severed the connection, which killed the Demodogs, but not the part of the Mind Flayer that was inside of Will. Instead, when that dust got exorcised, it became stuck in our world, since there was no longer passage to the upside down. Unbeknownst to the kids, the Russians opened a new gate. It's what caused the power outage and allowed the Mind Flayer's psychic link to find signal again. The Mind Flayer's new form began to possess rats and people, making them eat chemicals and melting them into goop. The party realizes that Billy's probably getting flayed. After all, he was taking ice baths, and we all know the MF and Mind Flayer.
He likes it cold.
They decide they'll test Billy with a trip to the sauna.
Hey, shut the door! Come on, kid!
I love the look of the guy on the right. He's just begging to be rescued. Save me! In the Scoops Troop Russian Mallrats plotline, Robin gets schematics to figure out how they can infiltrate the storage room. Air ducts might work, but those things are freaking tiny, man. Good thing they know a tiny child. It's Lucas's sister, Erica Sinclair, introduced last season, being sassy.
Bunch of nerds.
She's been seen throughout this season, taking advantage of the Scoops Ahoy free sample policy. That makes it simple to bribe her. Many scoops and Sundays later, she agrees to help them out. After all, she is a patriot.
You can't spell America without Erica.
Aw, Ted Wheeler would be proud.
We're all patriots in this house.
That night after the mall closes, Erica slips into the air ducts like a little John McPain in the ass. It works, and she opens the storage room from the inside. They open up some boxes and find enough plutonium to power a DeLorean, or maybe it's the virus from Resident Evil. Either way, not a good time for the room to start shaking like this. Turns out they're actually on an elevator of some kind, and much like the elevators in Resident Evil, that thing starts dropping at a pants-shitting speed. Not Billy's been sweating up a storm all day, so he's excited to cool down with a nice cold shower. But even possessed by the Mind Flayer, Billy falls victim to a trap. He's launched through the air by the telekinetic teenager and gets locked up in the sweat box. They raise the temp to sweat him out, though Max begins to have doubts when Billy starts crying and pleading. Again, hard to tell how much Billy is actually there. We've never seen him act vulnerable before, and besides, Will's got some back of neck bumpies. That means the Mind Flayer is in the house.
Get away from the door!
Let me out, you bitch! Let me out!
Yeah, it's the Mind Flayer, right? Or is that just Billy? The heat finally takes its toll on Billy's possessed body, giving him venom levels of vascularity. The same sort of spiderweb effects start to cover Mrs. Driscoll in the hospital, because when the Mind Flayer gets damaged, so does the rest of its possessed network. We learned this in season 2. That's why you always do the homework, folks. Billy breaks free and 11 holds him back with her mind powers, but the telekinetic teenager can't stop Billy from setting a new PR, and he grabs her by the throat to show that he means Billy business. Mike rescues 11 from a strangly death, allowing her to gain the upper hand once more. She mind flings Billy through a frickin' brick wall, which causes her to collapse and allows Billy to get away. He finds comfort in the hands of the possessed Heather Holloway and all their friends, the flayed citizens of Hawkins. The elevator full of tweens, teens, and screams drops until it crashes. Oh, Erica, your mom and dad are gonna be so mad at you.
Your mom's not gonna be able to find us if we're dead in a Russian elevator.
Oh, yeah, that would suck too.
Yep,
At the bottom of the shaft, a pair of Russians arrive on an Austin Powers cart. The scooper poopers hide while the Russians offload boxes, and after they're gone, sneak out using the canister of mystery liquid. Oh, okay, it was xenomorph blood. Melte. They start walking down a seemingly endless tunnel that was a digital effect made by the company Rise VFX. At the end of it, they reach a junction and witness a gathering of Russian mans and womans. Not only soldiers, but what, also cosmonauts? Also, how do they not get seen? Come on! I love these characters, but I don't love this plot line. It's too James Bond Jr. for me.
Yeah.
Especially when they stumble upon the evil Russian science laser beam. You could put that shit in Die Another Day and not a person would bat an eye. At the Hess farm, Hopper and Joyce scope the place looking for some cups to steal. Score! After some cop flashlight holding and some hop heavy breathing, they hear something coming from below. It's Alexei, the promoted Russian scientist from the opening scene. He's got a Russian buddy with him, and don't look now, but this communist party about to get bigger. Grigory comes downstairs and finds his comrades all tied up on account of Jim Hopper, who gives him a real American hello. The two get into a scuffle with many a bullet and fist flying. Hopper's able to cuff Alexei to his wrists, and the two of them and Joyce get away while Grigory rat-a-tat-tats in their wake. Maybe just a few more bullets will get him, Greggy. No? Okay. I'm sure you'll have better luck with John Connor. Between the bullets and, oh yeah, a friggin' bomb, their car is rendered useless, forcing them to traverse the woods on foot. Joyce tries to have her own Reykjavik summit with Alexei, but Hopper is pretty much fed up with the both of them. And with this goddamn forest, it keeps disappearing on him. What the fuck? I love that transition into Eleven's void vision. It's a slick effect done once again by Rise VFX. Grigory continues to track his prey, who are currently stopping by a 7-Eleven. That's the best place to get Coca-Cola and steal a rich guy's car. Sorry, Todd Father, it's for a good cause! Hopper and Joyce take their Russian captive to the only person Hopper knows who can speak Russian, Murray Bauman, the ex-journalist who we met in season 2.
Это может Алисы. А вот наручники на тебе, сволочь советская. Hi, Jim.
He brings him inside and sweeps down Alexei, showing his paranoia is still going strong. He's also just as surly and horny as usual, suggesting Hopper and Joyce want to bang. Careful now, Merster. That little lady's a firecracker.
So if you don't mind, put that thing away, stop behaving like a jackass, and ask him what he's doing that's making my magnets fall off my damn fridge!
Winona Ryder
So
continues to have the time of her life with this role. Since Eleven saw that Hopper and Joyce are currently indisposed, it's gonna be up to the party and this box of Cocoa Puffs to do something about Billy. They're joined by Nancy and Jonathan as well, and together they realize there are a bunch of flayed Hawkinsians. Mrs. Driscoll, Heather Holloway, and Heather's dad.
Tom.
Yeah, that guy. They take the Wheeler station wagon to the Holloway home, where inside they find evidence that the family has switched to an under-the-sink diet. They realize the Holloway parents must have been abducted by Billy and Heather, and to figure out where flaying home base is, they decide to check with Mrs. Driscoll at the hospital. Nancy and Jonathan reconcile after he apologizes for not believing her. Yeah, dude, she was right all along, which is why Mrs. Driscoll is all of a sudden missing, and why Tom Holloway is here looking super extra sweaty. Panic vase, which on set was sometimes sugar glass, sometimes rubber, for the many times they had to film the strike.
The guy was like,
One time you really got it.
I know, really. He said if you hit him harder, it's gonna hurt less.
They're not in the clear since a possessed Busey is here, but before he can carve any numbers into their heads, they begin a flashy hospital chase scene. During it, we see the bodies of 3 hospital staff members and or patients on the ground. Oh yeah, this is a kill count, isn't it? Bruce finds them and starts battering them around, and again, hard for me to tell how much of the original person is present here.
Yoo-hoo, Nancy Drew, where are you?
As Bruce chases after Nancy, Jonathan is cornered by the possessed Tom Holloway, making Tom the second middle-aged man to beat the shit out of this teenager in the past few minutes. Nancy fights back, with the damage affecting both Bruce and Tom, and they're killed in turn by Nancy and Jonathan. She breaks Bruce's face with a fire extinguisher, and he stabs Tom Holloway in the chest. Mike and Eleven make amends over M&Ms, but the good times are cut short by a light show, courtesy of the decomposing flayed bodies. What was once Bruce and Tom melt into meat blobs and join forces, combining their strength and becoming the next stage in gloopy evolution. The gloop monster chases Nancy through a part of the hospital that's under construction or something. Since when did that become a mainstay location in horror media? Watch it now, Nance. Me gon' gloop ya. Man, all this glooping looks pretty gloop darn good. It sucks that it's obfuscated by the annoying flashing lights. The hospital monster continues the webbing, dripping, gross saliva look, as well as the careful consideration that went into how it actually functions.
From the bulky gorilla arm to the millipede legs and the spider-like claws, each limb was rigged in its own way.
Hilariously, this monster was played on set by stuntman Ken Barfield, whose outfit looks like a bargain bin cosplay of Peacemaker. Okay, calm down, Ken. Right before the monster can gloopify Nancy, Eleven breaks in and force blasts that gloopy boy straight out the window. They're unable to stop it from going to visit its chud friends, though, and before you can say Hal Ratma, that thing has crept through the sewers all the way back to Billy and Heather.
It's time.
Time for what? Oh, time for a patriotic carnival, mofos.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the Dread Pirate Roberts. Oh, and look at how he's dressed. I think this event will be a mix of pleasure and business. Unfortunately for Klein, his business partner could make his face look worse than it already does.
You're lucky you still breathe. Feeling lucky.
Grigori tells Klein he has 1 day to find Hopper. As the gravitron spins, Klein says, "As you wish." Alexei is enjoying the American comforts of cartoons and fast food, as Hopper and Joyce try to get answers from him through translator Murray Sweaty Balls Bauman. That's not confirmed or anything. Dude just looks like he'd have sweaty balls. Alexei is difficult at first, but eventually, Hopper motivates him to spill the beans on some schematics. Everybody smoke on 3. 3! Through Murray, Alexei tells them the Russians are trying to open a doorway.
A doorway between worlds.
Since Hawkins had already opened that door once before, it's the least jammed entrance, so they came here to pry it open again. Should have padlocked that shit, Hawkins Lab. Hopper calls the Hawkins Lab guys to relay all this to Dr. Sam Owens. You know, Paul Reiser from season 2. The guy who ended up not being as shitty as you'd expect Paul Reiser to be. Hop's told it's gonna take some time to get them help, but Joyce ain't in the mood to sit. She's worried her kids are in danger at the carnival, so she takes Murray and the Alexeis to head back to town. The Russians finally wise up that there are meddling kids in their midst, although I've gotta say, it takes them way too long to get a hold of them.
Sure
They should've
does.
gotten a little Genghis Khan on them. Ooh. Erica and Dustin escape through a floor grate as the ice cream slingers get a bouquet of guns in their faces. In the air ducts, Dustin recaps seasons 1 and 2 for Erica until they find their way to the Dino DNA freezer system. They don't have any fake Barbasol cans, but they do find the keys to a cart and a frickin' cattle prod or some shit. That looks pretty fun. Dustin's hoping they can use these to help Steve, who's currently getting interrogated the hard way.
Who do you work for?
For the millionth time, I work at Scoops Ahoy!
He's tied to a chair with Robin, and we get a lovely scene between these two fan-favorite characters. Their chemistry is great, even when their plan of escape lands them sideways on the ground.
Whoops.
It's okay, it's okay. Don't cry, Robin. Are you laughing?
The two of them talk about their time together in high school. Robin's a geeky band kid and was completely ignored by Steve, since he was way too cool and popular.
It didn't matter that you were an ass. I was still obsessed with you. Even though all of us losers pretend to be above it all, we still just want to be popular.
Their discussion of high school social dynamics uses a music cue from Day of the Dead, the same movie shown at the movie theater earlier in the season.
But I guess you gotta mess up to figure things out, right?
I hope so.
I love that score by John Harrison, and it's great to hear this cue in another character-driven scene.
Perfect.
I'm sorry I said those things about you.
I'm sorry too. Really?
Well, what do you know? We are heroes after all. What a relief.
The Russians return with an evil doctor who injects them with some kind of truth serum. Truth. A side effect of the serum is that it gets them teens giggling, giving us more delightful interactions that always make me laugh aloud.
I felt so good.
Want to know a secret?
What?
I like it too.
Honestly, the Russian plotline might be worth it for this scene alone.
Who do you work for?
Scoops. Scoops Ahoy.
More physical coercion is threatened, but Dustin and Erica intervene. They cause a melty distraction with the green goo, then use the cattle prod to give this doctor a jolt of his own medicine. Oh, they're the Scoop Troop, and they'll always stick together. 11 takes a void venture looking for the Holloways, but the tissue toll it's taking on her has Mike all kinds of upset.
Could we please just come up with a new plan because I love her and I can't lose her again?
Aw, he L-words L. She didn't hear his proclamation, because she was too busy finding Billy Gloomis. Turns out, he's just sitting in his room, minding his own goddamn business. Nothing weird about this. I think it's what people did to pass the time before the internet. The party and co realizes this is probably a trap, so they ain't about to march into Billy's bedroom. 11 remembers how she saw into her mom's memories last season, so she decides to try the same trick with Killy Billy. In the void, she takes his hand and reaches out to the Billy deep inside. That lands her in his memories on a stranded beach with nary a Jeff Probst in sight. Instead, she sees a young Billy and his mother. Careful out there, kid. Don't want to end up like the Kittner boy. This memory has got a lightning storm going on, giving us very cool visuals, the kind that have come to define the series. Again, they were done by Rodeo Effects. My favorite part is how they kick this kid around on a green screen even though you barely see him in the end. The upside down dandruff starts raining down as 11 sees little boy Billy get bad news berated by his father. Yeah, that guy has always sucked. And he even abused Billy's mom in front front of him. It's another example of the cycle of abuse that was hinted at last season, giving us an explanation of Billy's bastardom that led to his eventual mind flaying. The stormy trip down memory lane shows Eleven where Mind Flayer HQ is, the old steel mill. Good work, Elle. They've got a location. Pull out! But that's not an effective method of void control, and she finds herself still voiding in Hopper's cabin alone. The Mind Flayer's trap worked after all, and now he knows exactly where she is.
Now we can all see you.
She pushes him away and gets back to reality for a nice little Mike hug, but the dominoes have fallen. All the sweaty, sallow Hawkins townfolk who have been possessed by the Mind Flayer are done with the fireworks and barbecue. It's time to work some steel. By which I mean approach the gloop monster and collapse into piles of gloopy meat. Here's the big count I've been dreading all season as the Mind Flayer collects his debts. Editor Josh counted his keister off and came up with 27 people in this group shot, which is the same count he got in a group shot at the end of episode 4. These deaths include Heather Holloway, her unnamed mother, and Mrs. Driscoll. Just a heads up, a newspaper later includes these deaths in its figures, but by Josh's count, that headline should say 31. It'd be these 27 plus Tom and Bruce, then one death and one death yet to happen. With the gloop monster on its way, the kids board up Hopper's cabin like this were Night of the Living Dead. Maybe they watched it ahead of seeing Dave. Despite their best efforts, their fortification gets bested by an inside-out deep rising tentacle. It gets axed and shot at before ultimately falling victim to Eleven's powers. Be gone with ye! Tentacles 2 and 3 also get torn up, like a couple of grabbers getting Burt Gummered, but then Big Papa Gloop Boy breaks through the ceiling to abduct our Egg-11 leading lady. Teamwork rescues her and she splits it apart with her powers, giving them a chance to get the fuck out of there. Family truckster? Away! They break into a store to patch 11 up, and while Lucas stocks up on fireworks, Mike nearly, but doesn't actually, admit to 11 that he loves her. The Ice Cream Sailor gang races through the tunnel back towards the elevator. They get there and ascend, though Steve and Robin can't get too much higher. They're tripping more than a suburban kid at Burning Man.
Are you gonna die on us?
We all die, my strange little child friend. It's just a matter of how and when.
More bad guys with guns chase them back into the mall, where Dustin sneaks them into a theater showing Back to the Future. He sits Steve and Robin down to enjoy the time traveling and incest, then heads back to the projector booth and walkie-talkies Mike. The larger group finally knows where Dustin's been all season, so they head to the mall with a jackass cart full of fireworks. Hope those aren't for Steve-O's butt. Dustin returns to the theater to find that the drugged-up babysitters have been erased from existence. And if my calculations are correct, when these drugs hit 88 milligrams per dose, they're gonna see some serious shit. The psychedelia eventually sends them retching into toilets side by side. These two are on their come down, a sacred part of any drug trip, and they start interrogating each other to see if they're still getting truth serumed. Steve admits he used to be in love with Nancy Wheeler, but he's not anymore. He's found someone better.
First of all, she's hilarious. She's so funny. I feel like this summer I have laughed harder than I have laughed in a really long time. And she's smart, way smarter than me. You know, she can crack like top secret Russian codes.
Aw shit, man. Here it comes. We've been waiting this whole season for these two to kiss and create the ultimate power couple of hilarious fan favorites. Only one problem. When Robin said she was obsessed with Steve in school, it wasn't because she was into him. It's because she was into a fellow female classmate, a wannabe singer named Tammy Thompson.
I wanted her to look at me, but she couldn't pull her eyes away from you and your stupid hair.
Robin's the first openly gay character in the series, and she's hesitant to admit this to Steve because she thinks he won't like her anymore. Makes sense in the 80s, a much more homophobic decade, with an administration that was vocally anti-gay. Steve realizes what Robin is saying, and his reaction only secures him as a heartwarming hunk with good hair.
Just thinking. I mean, yeah. Tammy Thompson, you know, she's cute and all, but I mean, she's a total dud.
She's not.
Yes, she is. She wants to be like a singer. She wants to move like Nashville and shit.
Their friendship is solidified as Dustin and Erica find them. They try to sneak out with the exiting theater patrons, but this Soviet blocks that exit and sends them sliding away. Hopper and Joyce's incessant arguing finally gets to be too much for Murray, who tells them to STFU and F already.
Cut the horseshit and get to the part where you admit your sexual feelings for one another.
You are way off base,
Oh, spare me,
Spare me, spare me! It stuns the buyer's babe and the big hopper, but it amuses Alexei and brings him and Murray closer together. Do I sense some detente? The sexually frustrated twosome get to the carnival, so Joyce can find her kids and keep them safe. Larry Klein spots the hop and uses his Zach Morris phone to alert his commie confidants. Murray and Alexei are hanging out at the car per Hopper's orders, but when Alexei expresses a desire to experience America, Murray takes it upon himself to show him around the carnival. You know, rigged games, crappy prizes, a serial killer on stilts. America! I love seeing Alexei so happy here.
Me
just
too.
Basking in all this freedom. What is this? Some sort of red friend redemption? The night is about to be made perfect with hot dogs and a Woody the Woodpecker plush. The hammer and sickle are brought down on Alexei. Grigori shows up and shoots the defector in the chest, sending the Russian scientist reeling and Murray stripping his clothes off to help his friend. Hopper sees the danger and lures the Russians into a funhouse where there's hopefully not a Frankenstein getting a hand job from a psychic. Damn, a 3-story funhouse? I bet those carnies could afford that fun mortgage with nothing more than a fun summer job, too. The funhouse does, in fact, beget a fun fight scene, but I'm hesitant to say Jim kills this Russian rando, so I'm not gonna put him on the count. Same goes for Grigori, who gets tricked by mirrors and shot a whole bunch of times in the chest. You'd think that would be a kill, but nope, he's actually just living tissue over a metal endoskeleton. Or wait, no, he's wearing a bulletproof vest. But don't worry, I've asked Alexei to set a reminder to add him to the count, since he's bled out and died by time Joyce and Murray return to him. Hope that corn dog was worth it, Merster. They leave and pick up Hopper on their way out, telling him he's now the only Alexei in their group. At least they've got one of the Russian walkies now, though, and that's how they learn their kids are being hunted at the mall. The armed Russian guards are closing in on the Scoopy gang when they're intercepted, not by Hopper, but by the series' resident superhero. 11 chucks a car full speed at the guards and kills all 4 of them with ease. The underage cast members reunite and catch each other up on everything just in time for the season finale. Unfortunately, their main power player's not in the best of shape, thanks to whatever creepy crawler is slinking beneath her skin. Elle's got a bad case of subdermal wormholes. You know, gut graboids. She got them by the tentacles biting at her in Hopper's cabin. You can't get those things out with chopsticks, Jonathan, but a burning blade? Well, now we're talking flame hard. Johnny on the spot cuts into 11's leg, but ultimately, she spends all of her powers performing her own upside-down ectomy. This was another one of Rodeo's VFX shots. I'll always prefer a practical effect, but I'd be lying.
I'm really glad he didn't show the part where he actually went into her leg. Oh, that was.
I even noticed this was digital. The Sluggy Boy lands on the floor and underneath the boot of one Jim Hopper. Daddy's home. Okay, everyone's finally together and on the same page. They recap. Gloop Monster is the Mind Flayer's weapon, but if they close the gate, it should sever the connection and de-gloop Hawkins for good. Murray's got maps from Alexei, but Erica cuts a mean promo on him and says he don't know shit about the tunnels like she does.
Why is this 4-year-old speaking to me?
I'm 10, you bald bastard.
They gave 12-year-old Priya Ferguson a lot to do this season, and I think she handles it perfectly. The only thing better than her dressing down this dressed-down man is 4 bros hugging it out after having separate adventures. That's that fellowship-ish. A plan is made. The adults will head to Red Base, guided by Dustin and Erica on a radio. They'll need higher elevation to broadcast, so it's off to the Susie speaking spot and the Todd Father. The car gives its all-father and makes it pretty high, but its psycho-magnotheric slime runs out of positive reinforcement, and they have to climb the rest of the way on foot. The parents say goodbye to their children with many a sad look and strong hug, and Hopper even wishes Mike well. Aw, that's nice. The kids go off and the adults head down, Murray still in his tank top, which is so hilarious to me. At the bottom of the elevator, they run into a problem, and when this rocket horse can't talk him out of it, Hopper opens fire. He guns down 4 Russian guys who were honestly just there doing their job. I bet they went to elevator trade school and everything. This is a bit of a jump in action for me, and I like that Murray is at least bugged by it. I love that he's the kind of guy who can find genuine enjoyment talking to a Russian guard.
Why are you talking so much?
He was nice.
He was nice?
He was a nice guard.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably invite him over after all this is done.
Nancy and her crew go to leave for a safer location, only to find that the station wagon is no longer operational. A cable's been cut, and it was upside down Billy, the saboteur! That puts them back inside the mall, with Nancy arming herself in case of Billy. Sorry, Max. To fix the station wagon, they turn to the car Elle previously used as a bowling ball. But her self-surgery took all her powers away, so they have to get things going the manual way.
I told you,
Physics.
Yes, science! Science doesn't let you down like magic powers can. Sorry, Elle. Looks like you're not the same can crusher you used to be. Before Jonathan can fix the car so they can go on and get, the group gets split by a goop. Our drippy monster friend is back, and he's bigger and better than ever. The disguised adults reach the vent, and Murray climbs inside so Hop and Joyce can turn off the laser and close the gate. In the meantime, they're left stewing in their feelings, and Joyce recommits to a dinner date with the big man. Just maybe don't drink as much this time, haha. Murray is led through the air ducts by Scoop Troop, whose hillside vantage point gives them a good look at the mall. What they see ain't pretty, because there's a monster over there. Scoop Troop to Gloop Goop, do you copy? Gloopster's over and out. With that thing looking for some kids to kill, or really anyone to kill who's not a mannequin or already dead, Steve the Hero Harrington takes off to help the mall group. Robin, you can come too. Murray reaches his destination and starts yanking cables like he's hunting for an Ethernet cord in an old box. Why do I still have VGA cables? Shit breaks down and the burgeoning lovebirds are almost able to get to the Russian laser opening the gate. But the code to the door is Planck's constant, a scientific number that Murray can't remember. Luckily, Dustin knows the perfect nerd girl who can give them the digits they need. He radios over to a village in Salt Lake City, and his summer camp girlfriend Susie answers the call. Lucas's seasonal slingshotting skills allows the two groups of kids to get away from the beast. Nancy, Lucas, and the Byers boys escape outside, where the elder Byers tries to get the car going. Billy starts hurtling towards them, and despite her best shots, Nance is unable to stop him. Fortunately, Steve Harrington T-bones the Billster, saving the day and causing at least 2 concussions in the process. This car crash stunt was practical, holy fucking shit, and overseen by stunt coordinator Hiro Koda, who also co-choreographs the fights in Cobra Kai with his wife Janelle Kerfman.
So you know
they
it's
had
good.
5 cameras running on the crash to make sure they got it on video, and thankfully, everything went off without a hitch. The car speeds away from the giant gloop monster as the people inside listen to Dustin talk with Susie on the radio. He asks her for Planck's constant, but she's upset that he's only calling for a favor. In return for the numbers, she wants him to sing a song, and the result is a segment I gather is a bit divisive.
Written on the pages is the answer to a never-ending story.
Is it cringe? I mean, yeah, but the whole show is to some extent. I don't love it, but in time, I have come to kind of like it. It's a little cute, the reaction shots are funny, and guest star Gabriella Pizzolo really gives it her all.
It's fine for me. I just hate how long it goes on for. It's uncomfortably long, and it kind of results in future events that we're gonna get to.
Almost never-ending song ends, and she gives them 1 grain of sand in the form of the constant. Hopper blip bloops the door open, and it's off to shut down the gate for good. Okay, thanks Susie, bye! A badly damaged Billy climbs out of his car just in time to see Mike, Elle, and Max. That causes the L Hunter Gloop 1000 to turn around and head back towards its main target. When Billy reaches the kids, Max tries to reach her brother, but it doesn't even start to deter him. He's here for 1 kid and 1 kid only. He carries 11 back out into the mall courtyard and lays her down at the altar of Gloop. All praise the Gloop god, for he is many and he is one. Lucas and the others show up, and they all start tossing lit fireworks at the monster. I can only imagine how long it took for them to render all these incredible visual effects. This is the so-called Spider Monster, a gloopy version of the Mind Flayer itself. While Season 2's Dart was sometimes played by a marble, and the Hospital Monster was played by everyone's new favorite guy, the final 22 feet tall Spider Monster was played by a beach ball on a 30-foot pole. That can make acting difficult, so on-set music was sometimes used to help set the mood.
And sometimes it'll just be like Jurassic Park.
Last time I'll shout out rodeo effects, but they do deserve all the flowers. These goop effects are top notch. As lights and colors explode all around them, 11 taps into Billy's inner, humanity by mentioning his memories, specifically the beach one with his pretty mama. I guess there's still some Billy underneath all those HGH veins. Joyce and Hopper get to the main science room underground, and Hop politely encourages everyone to take a 15-minute break. They see the laser birthing a canal to the upside down and stick the 2 keys in to turn it off together. Before they can, Grigori shows up, because he's this season's boring big bad. He and Hopper get into another fight scene, which spills out towards the upside-down door-knocking machine. Grigori nearly takes Hopper's head off with the centrifuge, but eventually Hopper gets the upper hand and says, "Hasta la vista, Grigori." He tosses the Russian henchman into the upside-down machine, ridding the show of its worst villain since Carol and Tommy H. With time running out for everyone who's fighting the Mind Flayer's weapon upstairs, Joyce figures out out a way to turn 2 keys at the same time. Thought you had to be a millionaire to swing that. Meanwhile, Mike and Max wake up, and she gets to the courtyard just in time to see her brother, I guess, sacrifice himself to save Eleven from the spider monster. Although he was the one who dragged her over there in the first place. You know, this almost looks like the dream of the fisherman's wife. Less erotic and more lethal though. Sorry, Billy. Oh, wait, no I'm not. With Russians among us and among Joyce and Hopper, she has to blow up the machine, even though Hopper's standing next to it. Damn, she'd really do anything to avoid going on that date with him, huh? With a couple of nods of recognition and a bittersweet smile from Jim, Joyce pulls the trigger and blows up the machine, disintegrating the 5 Russians who are approaching it, but not killing Hopper, as the season 4 trailers made abundantly clear right from the get-go.
I hate
Helps
that.
my job, but still, trust your audience. Let them have a little surprise, you know, as a treat. The gate closes and Joyce doesn't see Hopper in sight, but at least the spider monster is down. It doesn't go on the count, of course, because it's not humanoid, but Billy is humanoid, so we get to count him as he dies on the floor. Yep. I don't really feel anything right now. Max does though, and she will. Joyce and Murray escape the Russian base and the US feds come to town, led by none other than Dr. Owens. Maybe get an Orange Julius while you're in there, Doc. They find the Russian base empty and the upside down hole still scabbing, but all in all, mostly a happy ending, right? I mean, except for Hopper. Sorry, Al, Police Chief Papa ain't there no mo. 3 months later, we get a 20-minute denouement. It kicks off with a Hawkins news report, fresh out of VHS 85. It mentions Bob, Barb, and Toxie, as well as the satanic panic stuff that factors hugely into season 4. The report closes with a satisfying shot of Mayor in tights going to jail. Joyce is packing it up and moving the buyers out of Hawkins, meaning the boy gang is about to be split up. They won't have Will the Wise to DM anymore. That also means Jonathan has to move away from Nancy, and I'm surprised by how much their goodbye scene affects me. Probably owes a lot to the chemistry these real-life partners have. Eleven's gonna be going with the buyers as well, which means her and Mike are about to be as separated as she is from her powers. Oh yeah, I said it, Al, you lost your powers. Before they leave, they finally say they love each other, which is basically getting married when you're a kid that age. The episode's emotional climax happens as Eleven reads the speech Hopper had written to say to her and Mike. David Harbour's VO is sweet and warm, especially backed by a score that could be on Spotify's Music to Write By playlist. This is the benefit of TV series storytelling. These emotional goodbyes have a lot of weight to them. You really feel the sadness, even when they're using the same exact shot that they did in season 2. Maybe it's a callback. I do think the emotion's a little undercut by this second ending they tack on with heroes playing. It's a weird editing decision to see all this stuff a second time. A mid-credits scene takes place in Russia at what could be the 7th Circle prison. The guards mention an American prisoner, then toss a Russian guy into a cage with a monster. It's the Demogorgon, who we haven't seen since season frickin' 1. Is it the same one? I don't know, but I'll count the Russian prisoner it eats as our final victim of this count. Will season 3's body count match this episode's monster length? Let's find out and get to the numbers. Oh shit, what'd I win? Oh, plush little Demogorgon. It's so cute and teethy.
Oh, okay. Nice shot.
By my count, Stranger Things 3 had 58 kills in total. That's more than 3.5 times the 16 kills in season 1, and it beats season 2's count by 8, making season 3 the most lethal season of the show I've counted so far. Gender breakdown's hard to do because of masks and shadows, so how about some other fun facts? The Mind Flayer was responsible for 33 of the victims. Grigori only nabbed himself 2, while 11 killed 4 guys and Hopper killed 5. And with 8 episodes this season, that left us with an average of 7.25 kills per episode. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to the great big glob of gloop in the basement of the old steel mill. The effects are fantastic. They made all the people falling apart look horrific. Doll machete for lamest kill will go to the Russian scientist who was bored to death by Grigori. Same. And that's it. Stranger Things Season 3 came out in 2019. COVID delayed Season 4, so there was a 3-year gap before we finally got it. As this kill count comes out, the first chunk of episodes have already been released. And honestly, Season 4 fucking rules. Go check it out for yourself. Until next time, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count.
On the next Kill Count.
On Halloween night in 2018, Michael Myers returned to wreak havoc on Haddonfield.
Simple town where nothing exciting ever happens.
Well, this night is long and full of terrors, because he's still going around killing people in some seriously brutal ways.
Who's next?
Can the townsfolk rally together and stop this murderer once and for all?
Nope.
Yeah, kill the bad guy.
Not unless they have a catchy slogan to shout.
Evil dies tonight!
I think we've got something here. Just don't overdo it, everybody.
Evil dies tonight! Evil dies tonight! All right, evil dies tonight!
Yep. Overdoing the hell out of it.
Well, at least they're enthusiastic. This week, watch a very uneven movie that suffers greatly from being the middle part of a trilogy. Motherfucker. And this Friday, tune in for the kill count, only on Dead Meat.
Stop, look, and listen.
Oh no, that scene. Oh my god.
Halloween Kills. You can currently watch on
Oh
Picture Tree.
man. So season 3 of Stranger Things, honestly, I kind of fell out of it after the first season, so I had to binge watch over the past couple of weeks after I found out that this was happening. As far as where I rank this season as for the other two, season 1 probably still my favorite if I have to rank them like right now. I did thoroughly enjoy this though. Again, with that scene at the end where it's singing Never Ending Story, like if you just cut that down like a little bit, the Russian guy doesn't come in there to hit Hopper, and they can turn the keys and everything's fine. But because of that extra long scene, it sets everything up for Hopper to end up dying, even though he didn't. And I kind of felt like if they're bringing him back, they kind of took away from the scene he had when he gave her that look, and then when Elle cried over him. I don't like when shows or movies do that, where they sort of show this death scene and they have everybody crying over it and reacting to it just to bring them back. It kind of takes that away from me. So that's going to do it for me here. But before I go, though, I want to give a huge shout out to all of my $5 up supporters on Patreon. Marvin Espinoza, Cruising, Wolverine 310, Multi-Disturbed, 666, Jordan Bird, Lauren Davenport, Caster Cronage, Amber K, Raymond Bright, Angel Garcia, Joshua Tees, Chris Curtis, Angel Centillon, and Gagan Di Chima. And if you two like to have your name read at each and every one of my videos, plus many other fun goodies, maybe have me react to another Dead Meat video or two, please head on over to patreon.com/Reactor. Link will be right there. And in the description, if you're right below this video, click that join button there, or right on my channel page, and click that join button there. And with that being said, comment down below, let me know what did you think about Season 3 of Stranger Things. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Also want to see past reactions I've done to other Dead Meat videos. Got a nice playlist right over there full of them for you. Share this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, ring notification bell because of a new news every single day, and I'll see you guys next time.